2 races remain, and 3 drivers are still alive for the championship. For Gil de Ferran, it is possible to clinch his 2nd straight kart title today. Contenders Kenny Brack and Helio Castroneves must finish well to extend the fight. De Ferran and Castroneves excel on street courses, while Brack does not. Will it be de Ferran's paradise or Castroneves and Brack's hope? We'll know in 182 miles. Paradise Down Under, Surfers Paradise, Australia. Round 20 of 21 for the Kart FedEx Championship Series. Today, the champion might be crowned at the Grand Prix of Australia. Well, Gil de Ferran, in fact, can wrap up the championship if he stays away from trouble and ends the race with a 23-point advantage. Smooth and clean. Smooth, that's the de Ferran way. Clean is up to everybody else.
Kenny Brack found the wall early in qualifying, but was able to recover and qualify 13th. Brack comes into the Surfers event having led more than twice the number of laps of de Ferran this season, but he'll have to have a great race to keep his championship hopes alive heading into the season finale next weekend at Fontana.
Let's take a look at the way that they qualified down under. Roberto Moreno has the pole. It's his 100th start. Gil de Ferran, starting 2nd, failed to finish a single lap in the last 2 years. Paul Tracy is 4th for the 4th year in a row. Scott Dixon is the highest qualified rookie. Helio Castroneves, there he is in 11th. Kenny Brack starts in 13th. Adrian Fernandez won from 17th last year and starts in 17th today. And Alex Barron replaces Max Wilson at the wheel of that car. Let's take a look at the track here at Surfers.
It's the second longest circuit on the kart tour at 2.795 miles. Unusual for a street course in that it has 4 long straightaways where speeds can reach in excess of 190 miles an hour. But those 4 straightaways are punctuated by 4 chicanes. The drivers will have to be very aggressive over the curbs. That's tough on gearboxes, and especially that first chicane, turn number 1. We've seen lots of action there in the years past.
65 laps. Fuel is critical, trying to figure out that strategy. You can make it on a single stop if you get the right number of yellows and everything goes just right. Well, Chief Steward Chris Neifel fined Paul Tracy and docked him 3 championship points, put him on probation for comments that he made for several different incidents at Laguna Seca, including this one on pit road.
I had a bench suspension from when Castroneves turned me around in the pit lane. And what's more upsetting about that is how Chris Neifel runs this series. I mean, this series would be better off if they had a circus clown as a chief steward, because the job he does is a joke.
Well, along with everything else, that little comment cost Paul Tracy $50,000. Well, now the field has already begun to roll down under, and we want to take you back just 1 year ago. Jan Beekes, you remember the start and Gil de Ferran's problem then.
Yeah, and I think that Parker mentioned that there's a lot of action in turn number 1. Here is why. Montoya on the left, de Ferran on the right. They make contact. And the reason, Paul, you don't break in a straight line coming into this first chicane. And when you have 2 rows of cars, they have to get down to single file for that first chicane.
So the field now anticipating the green flag as they come off the long run alongside the Pacific Ocean, and then turn back up heading north and head for the start-finish line. And the run at Australia is underway. De Ferran leads them into turn 1. Moreno drops back into 2nd place. De Ferran doing just what he needed to do, got around the nemesis of last year, picks up the lead of the race.
And championship contenders Castroneves and Kenny Brack also through safely through the first 2 chicanes.
Yeah, but not so for Casey Mears. He's off very early on, starting well in the back of the field.
And this course is long enough, Paul, to where they certainly ought to be able to get him out of harm's way before these guys get around. But amazing, those guys were lined up nearly perfectly, and all the front runners got through there nearly unscathed.
Well, despite what you just suggested, Jan, they've gone to a full course yellow already on the first lap because of Casey Mears' position on the course. You can see the double yellow flags, which tells them that the pace car will come out and the field will slow. Let's go back and take a look at what happened to Casey Mears.
Coming down into that first chicane, gets in way too deep on the brakes hard, turns it around into the outside barrier. Another view of this. It's a deceptive corner. It bends back to the right. The entry itself is nearly blind. You've got to be on the brakes early, especially on cold tires, full fuel. His first start at Surfers Paradise, and he just missed it.
But surprising, and I had mentioned this, Paul, this course is long enough. I'm very surprised they couldn't get that car out of harm's way. And since you already know there's a lot of trouble in turn one, why not have a crane?
Well, there's another thing, too, that in the past, they have, for the most part, always told the drivers that they wouldn't go that full course caution until the last couple of turns before the start finish, just so they have an opportunity to pull it off course. Apparently, they saw something that we didn't and decided that they needed that full course caution.
The bun cake was bad.
The bun cake was abysmal, but you're missing the point of the story. The entire staff has food poisoning, leaving packages to be shipped, deadlines to be met, and one sales manager to do it all.
Just one?
One.
You didn't have the bun cake.
He had the Danish. Stay with me. He jumps on FedEx.com. He's shipping. He's tracking. Getting confirmations on his cell phone. His pagers, PDA.
He's got a PDA?
Everybody's got a PDA. Nevertheless, packages arrive. He triumphs over adversity.
I don't have a PDA.
Check, please.
You have one new message.
John, it's Bob. I tried tracking you down everywhere, so I'm leaving this on your cell phone. Look, about your merger meeting this morning, whatever you do, avoid the boardroom. I was talking to maintenance, and they just lacquered the table, and it needs 24 hours to dry. Man, I hope you get this.
With ordinary cell phones, you leave messages, but with Nextel Direct Connect, the digital two-way radio, you get right through.
Honey, if you're watching this, I've gotten a Suzuki King Quad during Quad Fair, and I won't be back for a while. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. The deal was too good to pass up. I had my choice of a free Warner Super Winch or $300 of free accessories. They also offered low monthly payments or low APRs. How could I say no? I'll miss you. Could you feed the dog?
Stop by your local Suzuki dealer today for great Quad Fair deals. At 160 miles an hour, your heart rate triples. At 200 miles an hour, your muscles strain and distend. At 230 miles an hour, it's not uncommon for headaches to begin. And that's just what the crew is going through.
Hey, you're clear, you're clear. This ESPN Speed World coverage of the Grand Prix of Australia is being brought to you by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series, and by Nextel, how business gets done. In Australia, just inland, there's some beautiful waterfalls and then the outback. But of course, the Kart Championship Series is at Surfers Paradise, anticipating the green flag. And Jan Beekes, we are under a full course caution, and the reason was Casey Mears, who got in trouble early on.
Coming into the first corner on the outside, just gets in way too hot. Locks up the brakes, spins into the barrier on the outside. But on that opening lap, we saw Paul Tracy and Alex Tagliani move up a spot each. And then they moved back as well. Michael Andretti fell back, as well as Patrick Carpentier.
And Jan, several guys pitted when that happened.
Yeah, and that's generally what you would see, Paul, from the back of the field, is that it's time to gamble if you're not running up front. So Fernandez, Nakano, Kanan, Takagi, Herta, and Gugelman all took advantage and came onto pit road for a splash of fuel.
Paul Page, Parker Johnstone, Jan Beekes with you. Gary Gerald has the weekend off. Our pit coverage will be coming from Network 10, Australia. Jill DeFerrin will lead the field back to the green flag. And, of course, he is simply looking to stay out in front if he can do that. And his nearest competitors, the only two real competitors that he has on this with the penultimate race of the season, Kenny Breck and Elio Castroneves, will not be able to really mount any kind of a charge whatsoever.
We talk a lot about fuel strategy, but at our last race at Laguna Seca, Max Pappas pitted 5 times, set a kart record from coming from the farthest position back, all the way back in 25th to win that race. So these drivers at the back that Jan mentioned, Takagi, Herta, Kanan, Fernandez, and Gugelman, all trying to top up that tank. They're not really worried about track position at the very beginning of the race.
They bring it up, lined up nose to tail. Again, the green flag is the one time when you have an opportunity to really get around somebody. It's the closest of contact that you will have with someone. Green flag comes out again. We're racing once again. DeFerrin timed that restart perfectly. Pulls a bit away from Moreno. That's Tracy in third place, Cristiano D'Amata, then Franchitti, then Alex Tagliani.
See D'Amata having a look down the inside of Tracy on that restart. Now the meat and the Team Green sandwich there.
And Paul, you mentioned about the jump forward to Farron. What a great example of the driving ability of these guys to come off and put 900 horsepower. Here comes D'Amata.
Cristiano D'Amata makes a move down the inside. Oh, it's going to be tight on the exit. They continue to go side by side. D'Amata battles and finally gets around Tracy. Franchitti pulls up right on the back end of Tracy.
D'Amata had a great launch off that second chicane, had a great amount of exit speed, was able to outbrake Paul. Difficult place to pass and hold a pass going into that back section. One of the few more traditional parts of the track. Concrete line, very steep crown in the road, blind on the exit. Excellent pass by Cristiano D'Amata.
And you talk about that launch. That's kind of what I was talking about on the restart. In the final hairpin, they get all the way down to 40 miles an hour. Then they stand on it on cold tires, or in this case, not as warm a tires as they have now. And that takes some real driving ability.
And when we show you the field summary in the upper left-hand corner, we have highlighted the car number of those 3 cars who are in the championship contention. And you see that CART is now scoring Casey Mears as out of competition.
Dario Franchitti now all over the back of his teammate Paul Tracy. Interesting, though, that Cristiano D'Amata got that great launch. The only driver with a Lola chassis at the front of this field. One of the things Cristiano told me is that he's just so impressed at how well that Lola puts the power down. And at a street course, that becomes very, very important.
Leaders now completed 4 laps.
You'll also see some varying styles. You'll see some guys that think you should hop the curbs in every chicane, and then there's others like Castro Neves who say, I don't think that's the approach I want to take. I want to be smooth and miss the chicanes. If you do that, you can actually run the car a little bit lower, so you have a different setting if you're a curb bouncer as opposed to somebody who misses them.
Well, let's in fact talk about that a little bit, because we've already had a report of one spectacular gearbox failure, that in the car of Jill DeFerrin earlier in the weekend. And if you keep bouncing off those curves and running this rough circuit and slamming the gears, your chances of making it to the end aren't all that good.
Well, Michael Andretti set the mark years ago. They had those famous pictures back in '94 when he won Renard's first race right here at Surfers Paradise, where he's got to be 3-4 feet in the air. When I first drove this course, I was trying to be very clean, very tidy, and I said, well, that's not working. So I started jumping the curbs, taking a lot more entry speed into the corners, picked up a huge amount of time. I think Cash Neves is really one of the few drivers at the front anyway, that's able to employ a smoother style and yet maintain a reasonable lap time.
Yeah, and Paul, I think what you were hinting at is for somebody like DeFerrin, you said he has to be clean. Well, if you're going to be clean, you want to be out in the lead where your view is not obstructed, and then you can make that choice. You know what? I don't have to bounce over curbs. I got to keep this car in one piece.
Keeping an eye on Alex Tagliani, currently running 6th. And still looking for that victory. The young man who started out so very strong in this series, and we've seen some moments of brilliance from him, but he has yet to find a position on the top of the podium.
Tagliani had a problem in qualifying, the engine not running quite the way it should have. He's also nursing a tendonitis problem with his right wrist. Suffered all the way through Laguna Seca, a lot of ice, a lot of medical attention, and at this track, especially if you are a curb jumper, that can really, really make it for a long, difficult day as you're hopping these curbs. It's very warm, very humid outside, and your right hand is so busy with 32 shifts a lap, straining against 2.5 G's of cornering, 3 G's of braking. Very, very tough physically.
Back to the front of the field, second place, Roberto Moreno.
You know, Paul, if I was DeFerrin, I think I'd let Moreno go. I don't think that I would work hard to stay in the lead of this race. I mean, maybe for the first 5 laps, But then I would, if Moreno's pushing, I'd let him go, because sometimes it's easier to follow than it is to be checking your mirrors and being pushed.
And you look at the interval that DeFerrin and Moreno have pulled out, and I think you're right, Jan. All he has to do is just keep Breck somewhere around him, and he's got the championship wrapped up.
So underway with 5 laps now completed by Gil DeFerrin as he chases a championship. In Australia, it's Honda and then 2 Toyotas. We'll be back.
I just saved her $120 on a set of Goodyears. At Mavis Discount Tire, it's our job to save people money on their tires. Mavis even has 4 all-season steel-belted radials from just $99 every day. 4 tires for 99 bucks. Mavis Discount Tire guarantees low prices to the brands you want. Call 1-800-4-TRACTION. We're going to save you money, a lot of money.
The gazelephant, the platypussycat. The race to create such magnificent animal hybrids is extremely competitive. But ever since 2001, we've had a technological edge, a fiber optic communications network from LightPath. It allows us to share vast amounts of data with our research partners faster and more securely. And that's led to our greatest success, the Golden Retriever. Thank you, LightPath.
I drive a 900 horsepower Champ car for a living, and it's a pure adrenaline rush.
Safety. So whether you drive one of these or one of these, safety is my #1 concern. There's a booklet full of valuable information. It's free. All you have to do is ask for it. Knowing that you and your family are safe is the greatest adrenaline rush in the world.
Spare Thoughts with Jason Couch, professional bowler.
Okay, Jason, you got the lead. Now psych him out. Give him the whammy.
You are confused. You have forgotten how to bowl.
Yep. Works every time.
The PBA Johnny Petraglia Open, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN.
Welcome back as the view is from Scott Dixon's car. Paul Page, Parker Johnstone, Jan Beekes with you. Gary Gerald is off this weekend. The race, Surfers Paradise, Australia. Gil DeFerrin is the leader. Nothing has changed at the front of the field. But a little further back, Helio Castroneves has fallen down a position, and that puts him just in front of Kenny Breck. So 2 of the championship contenders running together on the course. That's probably not what they would like to be doing. They really probably don't want to find themselves having to race one another, at least this early on.
We've talked about the championship battle. Scott Dixon, born in Australia, raised in New Zealand, hoping to lock up the Rookie of the Year title. This weekend at Surfers Paradise, has a lot of his family, a lot of friends that have come to watch him at his first appearance here. You can see his quick hands coming onto that pit straight with the onboard.
And Paul, this is what you're talking about. If Kenny Breck starts really pushing, and you could tell by the line of Castroneves, he is certainly aware that Kenny Breck is there. He's trying to drive defensively, but oh boy, you can't have any contact here. That would, if anything happened to these 2 cars, all of a sudden we've got a champion.
And we talked about Castroneves and how he likes to stay so clean, but he has been crashing the curbs. As you said, Jan, you can see him trying to protect that inside line under braking. Watch him bounce the curbs here. So much for being nice and tidy, but look at the exit he got on Kenny Breck coming off that very fast #3 chicane.
So keeping an eye on those championship contenders. Just moments ago, Network 10 caught up with Casey Mears out of the race.
I just got in too deep. It was just kind of caught me off guard. You know, I needed to slow down a lot more than I did. I just made a rookie mistake, basically, and you know, hopefully I learned from it. I mean, it was just too bad. You know, we managed to stay out of trouble all weekend. Our main goal was just to get through the race, you know, and I went in there very conservative, but obviously not conservative enough for how much guys were going to pack up. So just a huge mistake on my part, and I feel really sorry for the guys. You know, like I said, we made it through this whole weekend so far unscathed. Other people couldn't say that, you know, and our main goal was just to make it through the race this weekend. And you know, I'm just fortunate to be here, though. I want to thank Mona and Morris to supporting me and getting me in the seat, and also Pioneer and Wilcom, and sorry to all those guys. I know they had high hopes for maybe doing well here, so we'll go get them at Fontana.
Tough luck. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
So Casey Mears first scored out in Australia.
And the thing he's talking about, he thought he was conservative. Remember, Casey Mears went from winning Indy Lights races and starting at the front, now going to the very back of a 26-car field. Well, the accordion effect takes some getting used to. The cars slow dramatically when you're at the back of the field, and that really does take some getting used to.
Especially with the compression you've got going into that first chicane. When you've qualified 24th the way Casey did, you have to brake much, much earlier than the last time you were out on the circuit in qualifying or even in this morning's warm-up.
Back up at the front of the field, Jill DeFerrin leading for the 7th time this year, 4 in a row in terms of leading laps in a race for Jill DeFerrin. Roberto Moreno right behind him, driving for Pat Patrick. And again, the classic battle, Penske and Patrick laid out here for us.
They're running similar lap times, but interestingly, the fast laps at the moment are being done at the back of the field. Those who came in and topped up for fuel are running considerably faster. So the strategy may already be at play here. The guys are just kind of in the front, falling into a rhythm, controlling the track position. The guys at the back are going for it.
And I'm surprised, other than Casey Mears' bobble at the beginning of this race, it's been very clean. The last few races that we've seen at Laguna, Houston, Vancouver, for a while there, with the number of incidents that we had and the aerobatics that we saw at Laguna, I thought we were having a casting call for the sequel to Driven there for a while.
Well, they are kind of reporting to us, listening to a report coming from the track, that there was a complaint, at least, that Jill DeFerrin may have jumped the start. That's been re-examined by race control, and they have determined it to be a legal start. Michael Andretti, who fell back to 7th place behind Tagliani, now trying to work Tagliani, and Servia comes offline and slows down. Well, Servia slowed well before the corner. Remember that he was up there just ahead of the battle of Castroneves and Breck, and suddenly he's pulled out of the fight.
Obviously, he's got some sort of problem, just went straight through the chicane looking for a cutout in the wall.
Michael Andretti.
And
looking back to Brian Herta, 24th place. Thanks, Park.
No problem.
And there's Oriol Servia off the edge of the course. Surprised he's staying in the cockpit, because it looks like, well, now it looks like he's getting ready to climb out.
Came to Surfers with only one car. The primary car destroyed at Laguna Seca, sent back to England for repairs.
Here is 3rd place Cristiano D'Amata. Won the first race of this season, has not won since. Only 2 victories in his career, Chicago a year ago and Monterrey, Mexico at the start of this year. In fact, when you go back and think about that race at Monterrey, as we watch Tracy and Franchitti come through, and here comes Tagliani, followed by Michael Andretti. You go back and think about that first race of the year, Parker and Jan. It was at that race that Jill DeFerrin was terribly ill before the start of the race. High fever, chills, he was shaking. They did IV fluid therapy on him to help him out. Several people said, well, maybe you ought to just sit this one out. He did not. He finished 2nd despite being very sick, and having done that has certainly been a substantial help to him being in this championship position today.
Yeah, I think that is just, that's how these drivers are wired. And we're looking at Michael Andretti. That reminds me of he and Paul Tracy. It is amazing how they both run really well after having been in trouble and been placed on probation. Paul Tracy running in 4th, Michael Andretti currently not on probation. Maybe he wishes he was. But sometimes when you have adversity, not feeling well, or under pressure, these guys really respond.
We've seen that Adrian Fernandez in the past having the flu at Motegi coming back and win. But I think you look at Gilles DeFerrin, Paul, the fact that he hasn't dropped back, he hasn't let Moreno go by. This guy's a champion, he's a racer. He's not going to give away the lead if he doesn't have to.
DeFerrin and Roberto Moreno staying in touch with one another, but now beginning to pull away from 3rd place Cristiano D'Amata. About 100 yards separates them back to D'Amata. It remains the same at the front of the field. DeFerrin, Moreno, D'Amata, Honda, Toyota.
How do they see through the stockings?
How do they see through the stockings? They're sheer.
Right.
But you're missing the point of the story. The woman's car is commandeered, stranding her miles from the nearest FedEx location.
She's toast?
No. Directly across the street. Her salvation.
Directly across the street?
Technically, it was kitty corner, but stay with me. Is it a mirage?
I don't know.
Is it a miracle?
Yes.
No. It is one of thousands of FedEx Express drop boxes strategically located at post office locations coast to coast.
Keeping the engines of commerce
well lubed. Precisely.
What would happen if an SUV were raised by a family of sports cars?
Zoom, zoom.
Zoom, zoom, zoom. Ha. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Yeah, zoom, 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 zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Zoom, zoom, zoom. The 200 horsepower Mazda Tribute. The SUV with the soul of a sports car.
Split-fire spark plugs, because performance is everything. Now just $249 after rebate.
Some places have silly ideas to bring you in. But once you get to the taste, where's the fresh? Want something made fresh? Try one of the new Subway Selects.
We've got 4 new Subway Selects, like the delicious horseradish steak and cheese. Subway, eat fresh!
Like a lot of organizations, ESPN was having trouble with their carpet. So they had me install a more natural surface. This grass we install is the best. It's a good Bermuda.
No hot water on that, okay? Yeah, that'll set the stain.
It lays down very, very pretty.
Still to come on SportsCenter the rest of the night in the NBA.
Wherever you are, I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than grass.
Join host Chris Berman and analyst Tom Jackson as they break down all the NFL action on NFL Primetime. Sunday night at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. The most comprehensive NFL highlight show on television. NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite, every Sunday at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. For more, log on to ESPN.com. The run continues. The Kart FedEx Championship Series, Surfers Paradise, Australia. The ride here with Bruno Junqueira. Nothing's changed at the front of the field. DeFerrin, Moreno, D'Amata, the top 3. Junqueira is back in 17th. And we're going to take it back up to the front of the field. There's the separation. DeFerrin to Moreno.
Just a little over a second on that last lap, the interval between DeFerrin and Moreno. Moreno's been closing it up the last few laps. You see Gilles looking in his mirror. Just wants to make sure that Moreno's not close enough to have any problems with possible contact. I don't know. I think if he does get close enough, he just might let him through. You never know.
Yeah, that's the question I was going to ask. Say you are DeFerrin. Don't you think, all right, if he really charges me, I'm not going to really fight him?
Let's see.
Or can you afford to do that?
You know, I always preferred, if I was in this situation, it's the best place to be is always the front. You can control the pace, your visor stays clean, and I never wanted to win a championship without winning a lot of races and dominating every single event. If you're Roger Penske and you're advising Gilles DeFerrin, I would think that if you had any concern at all about this interval closing, that certainly given the opportunity, if you couldn't get it to the pit stops, that you'd let Moreno through.
Yeah, and of course it's tough to get inside DeFerrin's head because he knows how much he has in hand. We don't know sitting here if he's working the car at 7/10 of his ability or 9 or 10/10. If he's pushing 9 or 10/10 of his ability, then you think seriously about letting Moreno through. But if you're really just kind of cruising, you don't worry about it. The other thing is that Moreno is Brazilian as well as DeFerrin, and he is very experienced, and oftentimes he's a guy you can trust.
Well, but the watch says on that last lap that Moreno pulled in another 0.3 of a second on Gilles DeFerrin. You can see Gilles looking to the left, checking his mirror. You don't want to get distracted. You can see he's actually a little offline there, moving to the inside, coming into this next chicane. I don't know. If you're Roberto Moreno, you're looking for a job, you're looking for another race victory, and that's the perfect way to cap the end of a season. You have 2 completely different goals here in mind.
Meanwhile, back at 11th and 12th, Kenny Breck, Elio Castroneves. Carpentier with the exit of Oriol Servia, who had a gearbox problem. Here comes Castroneves. Oh, be careful.
Watch Breck.
Breck's going to go to the inside. Now he comes around. No, Breck can't do it. Breck got on the binders pretty hard, too.
Well, that's because Castroneves certainly lost a lot of speed, but he happened to lose the speed right in a place where there's only one lane.
And in that 5-6 combination, there's no way Kenny Breck could get a better exit because he tied him up for so long. So Castroneves maybe flat-spotted his tires a little bit there, but didn't give any substantial advantage to Kenny Breck, just gave Carpentier a little bit of breathing room. Down the inside, he doesn't have this pass made, and there's no way Patrick's going to let him down the inside. Breck now has a lot of extra speed, but he can't utilize it. Castroneves has a great exit coming off the corner, maintains that advantage over Breck.
The one thing I'm wondering there is that looked like a pretty good brush with something left front of Elio Castroneves. Whether or not it was just the pylon or whether or not it was a little more serious and he brushed the wall. We'll probably find out pretty quickly. Right now, he is able to hold Kenny Breck off, so you assume that everything's okay on the left front. And to just tie up the Oriol Servia, gearbox failure, he's out of the car, he is okay.
Interesting for Kenny Breck, had he not been so close to Castroneves, he could have held back and taken advantage of that. So it's crazy. Sometimes you're better off being right on somebody to take advantage. Other times you're not.
And if you were much closer, he may have been right in the middle of the accident. And that's the thing you have to be careful of.
Now watch Castroneves' left front, right?
I think he's clear there, but you can see Breck. If that had been a different sort of corner, Breck would have had a great exit on Castroneves. There's also the championship implications here. You've got second and third in the championship with Breck and Castroneves. You've got the teammate to DeFerrin who's out leading this thing and looking to secure his second championship in a row.
Here's the last winner of the series, Max Pappas, won at Laguna Seca in an interesting race that was turned totally on fuel strategy.
Yeah, it was that cagey strategy from Mark Johnson and the Rahal team. Stopped 5 times when everybody else is trying to do it in 2 stops. They called a brilliant race. They hit the yellows just right. Max Pappas won his second race of the year.
But when you talk about stopping 5 times, those were all early, and it was the not bringing him in, which was the big roll of the dice, which would not have worked except for CART having a rule that a race cannot go over 2 hours in length. Some other people forgot about that, and we're still working on the race distance on laps. And it worked for him.
And I think Christian Fittipaldi summed it up the best. His quote after the Laguna races, hey, these days you need more than just a good car. You have to have a crystal ball. And that's pretty much the way a lot of these races have turned out.
And despite that great run and the victory for Max Pappas, he's still a driver that currently is unemployed for next season. And Team Rahal, while announcing Jimmy Vasser as a driver for next year, have yet to indicate not only who will be in the second car, but for that matter, whether or not there will be a second car. It is presumed that there will be, but they'd really like to amass some sponsor dollars before they do that.
And we talked briefly about that 2-hour rule. In case you're wondering, why do you have a 2-hour rule? It has to do, it came in many years ago, it has to do with driver fitness. They had a really hot summer, and they decided that on a course like this, on a hot, humid day, that they didn't want people running into fitness issues, so they said, we are going to not have races longer than 2 hours in length. And it's commonly believed it has something to do with television, but that is not the case. It is CART's decision in the rule book, been there for a long time. They just don't want them to go longer than 2 hours.
Well, that's a rule they really need to reevaluate, I think.
And what confirms it, though, is that that rule doesn't apply to red flag time. So if you just subtract any red flag, it didn't exist.
And I think the reason Parker says that rule needs to be reevaluated is these guys would have absolutely no problem nowadays with their fitness level running longer than 2 hours. It's much different than it was 10 years ago.
I've been driving vintage Formula One cars during the summer, and it's amazing how much the physical loads have changed over the years. The older cars, very easy to drive physically, still took a lot of concentration, but these cars are very, very demanding.
So we're anticipating pit stops in a very few laps at Surfers Paradise, Australia. There's your top 5. Jill DeFerrin has led from the drop of the green.
You could say racing is our life, but when you really get down to it, safety is our life.
Literally, one of the more important pieces of safety equipment is the tires.
So it's really important to take great care of your tires.
To inflate and rotate, to keep them performing safely.
That's why Firestars put together a free brochure on proper tire maintenance.
Because safety is always the most important thing.
No matter what you're driving.
Reinvented Camry. One look, and you're going to want one.
I got my business online a few years ago. To this day, I'm glad I used Register.com. They registered my domain name and got it out there. That helped. I mean, I'm still going strong.
A company's name is its reputation. Gotta protect it. That's why I transferred to Register.com. They watch your back on the internet.
Whether you're a startup or well-established, we can help you with everything from domain registration to personalized email. Call the number on your screen now to register and get a domain name that includes a multi-page website for under $30 a year.
In the old days, shipbuilders relied on word of mouth. With the website I got through Register.com, it's just like the old days, only in 60 languages.
Your name is important. Protect it with Register.com.
I registered my craft. I registered my vision.
I registered my knowledge.
Visit Register.com for this limited offer to get your business out on the web and keep it there.
Now, the Baseball Players' Choice Awards are voted on by the players themselves. Nominees include Barry Bonds, Randy Johnson, Ichiro, A-Rod, and Roger Clemens. Tune in Sunday at 6 Eastern on ESPN to find out who the players think was the best player of the year. The Major League Baseball Players Association Players' Choice Awards, Sunday night at 6 Eastern on ESPN. For more, log on to ESPN.com. The run continues at Surfers Paradise, Australia. Gil DeFerrin has now completed the 20th of his 65 laps. He's in the lead. And we do have a report as well, pit stops beginning here with Franchitti in, and a report that Christian Fittipaldi may have brushed the wall.
I don't think you pit here, Paul, unless you maybe had a brush yourself. This is too early to pit unless you had a problem with your car. So we hear about Christian Fittipaldi maybe with a brush. You never know. Maybe that means there was something going on the racetrack that affected Franchitti.
As Franchitti observes the speed limit to the end of the pit lane, now begins to accelerate. Bruno Junqueira also pitted just ahead of Franchitti.
With the open test on Friday being in the rain and a lot of drivers not spending a lot of time on the track, this is the most dry time full tank running they've had so far. For a lot of these guys, they might be finding towards the end of this fuel run that the balance of the chassis gone off, that especially if they're in a tight traffic situation, they might just gamble and come in early.
Yeah, like what I should say is that he did not need to come in because of fuel. But like you said, Parker, if your car's not right, by stopping, you're in the window now. So you still only have to stop one more time. If something's not right, go ahead and get it changed.
Sure, and if you flat spotted the tires under braking or something else, why not?
And it may help you with track position, get you out of a fight you don't want to be in.
You just pray the yellow doesn't come out.
Yeah.
Report from Surfers Paradise, hot. Temperatures in the high 80s, humid, light offshore breeze.
Track temperature up to 130 degrees Fahrenheit with this crowd, the largest that they've seen, approaching 300,000 people over the 4-day event.
It hasn't been all that pretty. In the past couple of days, Friday, it's after all in the tropics, and they had a torrential downpour. They started to get the track dry. It rained again. One of those uncomfortable days in racing.
DeFerrin now almost 2 seconds ahead of Moreno.
With some reports that they're laying out for DeFerrin. And again, you should be able to go farther on fuel than this unless they're going with the crank up the fuel, use the max qualifying setting. Mimo Gidley also coming onto pit road. So there may not be much conservation going on out there. These guys are flat, got the fuel cranked up.
And we've seen that from DeFerrin so many times in the past. Just put it on full rich and run as hard as you can. Get as big an advantage as possible over the rest of the field. He and Moreno now 8 seconds ahead of D'Amata and the rest.
And that was 10.2, so it wasn't an empty fuel tank, but close.
So Junqueira, his teammate, already has stopped. Now Gidley has stopped. And anticipating the leaders of the race, you got a glimpse there of all of the crews with tires on the wall ready to jump over at any time.
You can see Gidley coming right out in front of his teammate Junqueira. Would have been interesting to see how the exit of that corner would have come out. Junqueira with a lot more momentum.
And here is the leader, Jill DeFerrin, on the pit road. Penske seems to like the last pits at Surfers Paradise. Straight run out to the track from here. Should be able to accelerate at full chant from here.
That's exactly it. You don't have to worry about the pit speed limiter on the way out at this track. You just stand on the gas and off you go.
Paul Tracy also stopping. His teammate Franchitti stopped a lap ahead of him.
John Anderson on the radio to Paul Tracy from Australia, as well as his team owner Barry Green, their home race.
Max Pappas in. Roberto Moreno has stayed out, assumed the lead.
Watch Barrett, watch Barrett.
Amazing. Very few changes going on pit road, at least for the wings. Doesn't mean they're not changing tire pressures, but very few aerodynamic changes. Again, about an 11-second stop for Pappas.
A 50-mile-an-hour tire scrub on the way out here.
I mean, you're sitting there with the pit speed limiter on. You don't have much to do, so you might as well.
Except scare the guys that are laid out as you go by.
Yeah, that'll get him back down off the wall. Roberto Moreno, the leader.
Most likely will come in. Sure enough. There's a key part right there. How fast can you get it slowed down to the 50-mile-per-hour speed limit without speeding as you cross that line?
Moreno able to get another lap more than Gilles DeFerrin. Moreno has always gotten superb fuel mileage.
Now we had 12.6 for DeFerrin, so let's see what this is now for Moreno. He'd need to be a couple seconds faster.
Trouble hooking up the fuel.
Oh, yeah.
Finally gets it in.
Yeah, so this will be slower. See, they got done with the tires nice and early, but they're having to wait because the fuel didn't flow. Boy, that's going to be very costly at 15.3.
Yeah, take 4.5 seconds off of that as they had trouble getting the fuel hose hooked. Tagliani also pits. But look at that, Moreno comes out in front of DeFerrin, even with that long stop.
We saw how much time he did lose because they were almost 8 seconds in front of Cristiano D'Amata. D'Amata exited right behind Moreno. But how in the world did he get out in front of Gilles DeFerrin?
Well, I'm checking his fastest lap, and boy, he must have really laid it down on his in-lap.
His in-lap was very, very fast. It was the fastest lap of the race, in fact, and that's the lap that you have to do it on. As you said, Jan, he was able to get down to that 50-mile-an-hour speed limit in the minimum amount of time on the track and was able to gain all the time that he lost on DeFerrin.
We watched Fittipaldi exit his pit stop. Kenny Brack, Elio Castroneves, Michael Andretti, and Cristiano D'Amata have also completed their stops.
There's one other thing, Parker, and that is you have to remember that DeFerrin does one lap with a fuel.
Oh, Dario Franchitti. Pretty precarious position, looking for damage on the car.
That's not where you want to be.
Come on.
That's right on the exit of a blind corner. That's turn 4 coming onto the back straightaway.
Oh, man.
He's
right
going reverse. Guzman.
It takes 2 hands to get it into reverse. You have to take your left hand and pull a lever and then continue to press forward with your right. And sometimes it's tough to get. Franchitti still hasn't found it.
Yeah, you grab that T-handle, you've got that lever forward, you're trying to work a very, very stiff clutch, which engages like a light switch with an engine that doesn't like revving down low to try to back it up carefully. You got to steer with your knees if you can.
Well, you've got, now here's what happened. This brings out the full course caution, just a quick little spin. And fortunately, he doesn't touch anything, the wall or Jourdain when he came past.
Now these guys are golden now because they were able to pit.
Now the pits of course closed as soon as the twin yellow flags came out.
But not always.
But these guys, if they were committed to the pits, would be okay. That's something we're going to have to find out.
Right, what they do.
Well, that was nice of Jourdain.
Okay.
It's shorter this way.
And what I was starting to say, Paul, is that they do not have to necessarily go and close the pits on a road course when they get a full course caution. Only if they think they're going to trap people who don't otherwise have an opportunity to know that they can pit. And in this case, they probably had to decide to go full course caution immediately and therefore close the pits.
Watching this again, you can see Dario right behind Tagliani. Looks like contact with the left rear on the wall. That's what I thought I saw the first time. Tries to stand on the gas to loop it around. Jourdain in his 100th start today has his heart in his throat there just for a moment. Franchitti gets the wheel straight, wisely backs it up. But now, still trying to figure out how to back that car up, and we saw he went a lap down as the pace car went by.
And we are getting the reports from Australia that Jimmy Vasser's team, Patrick Racing, is upset with that closure of the pits and how it came out. It apparently affected them adversely, and we'll wait to see if that has any impact on the race itself.
So by now you've heard that utility deregulation is here and finally gas consumers can choose a gas supplier. Well, for over 75 years, oil heat and air conditioning users have chosen Robeson Oil to provide quality service at competitive prices. Now natural gas consumers are free to make the same choice and receive quality service and at the same time lower their cost of natural gas. So exercise your right to choose and call Robeson.
I just saved her $120 on a set of Goodyears. At Mavis Discount Tire, it's our job to save people money on their tires. Mavis even has 4 all-season steel-belted radials from just $99 every day. 4 tires for 99 bucks. Mavis Discount Tire guarantees low prices for the brands you want. Call 1-800-4TRACTION. We're going to save you money, a lot of money.
Nearest you.
Boomer, you still think the 85 Bears defense was better than the Ravens?
Yep.
Tony Kornheiser, Michael Wilbon.
We're fat, we're bald, we're old, we're white. And one of us is blind.
Pardon the interruption. 5:30 p.m. Eastern, weekdays on ESPN. And again at 7 on ESPN2.
It's not pretty.
PTI.
At Surfers Paradise, Australia, Scott Dixon's going to head into the pits. He had his fuel alarm going off before the full course caution came out, picked up the lead of the race. It caught him and Jimmy Vasser out. Now they're able to make their stops, and we mentioned that the Patrick Racing team was very concerned. Look at all the dust come off of the brakes on that car. The Patrick Racing team was complaining about the fact that the pits were closed.
And the reason they're complaining is because for Scott Dixon and for Jimmy Vasser and those who had not pitted, it was a huge advantage as Vasser beats Dixon out. It would have been a huge advantage that they had not pitted when they hit the full course caution. So they come around the final corner, they go, yahoo, I'm going to get in here and get my pit work done, and they close the pits.
And now look at the track position they've lost. Scott Dixon comes in the lead. Now he was running in 7th place when this whole thing happened. He would have gained significant track position if he was able to pit without that closure, but now he's going to go to the back of the line with Jimmy Vasser.
And there is Franchitti. They're trying to get him started, but they had him sitting so long. Hot weather, hot engine. You saw that it was beginning to percolate into the overflow, and so you assume it did the same in the fuel lines. And now they're going to have a very troublesome time getting Franchitti restarted if they do at all.
Now this same feeling is available in a car.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Introducing the all-new Mazda Protege 5.
Yeah, zoom, 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 zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Same feeling.
Zoom, zoom.
New form.
Hey, mama.
Some places have silly ideas to bring you in. But once you get to the taste, where's the fresh? Want something made fresh? Try one of the new Subway Selects.
We've got 4 new Subway Selects, like the delicious horseradish steak and cheese.
Subway, eat fresh.
Do they bowl in Italy?
Do they bowl in Italy? It's the birthplace of bocce ball, but you're missing the point of the story. A mom-and-pop bowling ball bag manufacturer in Jersey. Jersey is swamped with worldwide demand after their product is featured in an Italian fashion magazine. Why are you laughing?
I was thinking of bocce shirts.
Let it go. So they ship via FedEx International Services. With time-definite express delivery to over 210 countries, the bags hit the markets. The classic macroeconomic love story. Supply meets demand.
I like a nice love story.
Now get the Wall Street Journal delivered for 8 weeks at just 38 cents a day, a 50% savings. Call now 800-553-4400. That's 800-553-4400 for the Wall Street Journal.
If you want to customize your ride, check out the latest rockin' audio systems, or kick it up off-road, there is a magazine for you. Choppers, street rods, lowriders, imports, 4x4s. You can get behind the wheel of them all. Or if off-roading for you means in the air, on the water, or up a mountain, then don't miss all the extreme action in these titles. Subscribe today to any of these McMullen Argus Enthusiast magazines at 1-800-700-7960.
NHRA is flying down the Las Vegas Strip. Catch all the action of the AC Delco Nationals tonight at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on ESPN2. The championship battle in top fuel tight. Kenny Bernstein and Larry Dixon. See who can get the edge. The AC Delco Las Vegas Nationals on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern tonight. For more, log on to ESPN.com. The pit summary, which started at lap 19, covers the first stop of the race.
Look down at Juncker and Barron, big winners. They both won 6. Dixon, with that problem, with the strategy and the closure of the pits, as we talked about, lost 7 places.
And you look at the very top there, Moreno and DeFerrin. Again, to summarize that, what happened was DeFerrin left the pits with a heavy fuel load and cold tires, and Moreno stayed out and drove a brilliant lap. So what happened was, although Moreno had a slower pit stop, he made up the time because he was on a light fuel load, made up more than 2 seconds on the racetrack versus DeFerrin, because DeFerrin's out there running heavy.
The very likable Alex Barron in his first ride in Larry Blair's car started in the last row, is up in 12th place now. Elio Castroneves, they report his last stop was timed. They sent Carpentier to the back of the field for entering a closed pit, and now we're ready to go again. Green flag is out. And they are underway this time with Roberto Moreno, the pole sitter, in the lead.
Great restart by Roberto Moreno. As we saw at the start of the race, Roberto Moreno appears to be quicker. Oh, look at Castroneves and Kenny Brack.
Uh-oh. Drop back, Kenny. You're going to get a penalty.
You better let him slide through there, and he does.
Yep.
You're allowed to do that as long as you do not improve time or position, and you correct it, which he has done.
To avoid the contact, he did the wise thing, then just dropped back behind Castroneves. But as I was saying, Moreno was quicker on full tanks, fresh tires, but as the run went on, we saw Gilles DeFerrin getting quicker and quicker. It'll be interesting to see how these two run at the front, or if Gilles DeFerrin now will drop back and simply pace behind Roberto Moreno.
Pappas and Fittipaldi in a pretty good battle right behind this. That's a battle really for 9th place. And from time to time, you catch Fittipaldi. Look at him. He comes out, tries to get inside of Pappas. Pappas tried to get inside of his own teammate Kenny Brack 2 corners ago.
And you have to be very careful at Surfers. The roads are crowned so steeply that especially on cold tires with low pressures and full fuel, they run these cars as low to the ground as possible to maximize ground effects, the total downforce the car produces. You get on top of that crown trying to pass, the car will bottom. You'll lose braking and steering control.
So Christian Fittipaldi continuing to work. Here is that situation, Castroneves and Kenny Brack. Now, as long as Kenny drops back in position, and he does slow, lets Castroneves go by, no harm, no foul.
And that was a no-win situation for Brack. He couldn't have tried to take that corner. There would have been contact. He made the smart move.
I think we're seeing Kenny, though, with a different mindset. At Laguna Seca, he was very aggressive. He knew that he had to push hard, and unfortunately, contact knocked him out of the race right from the get-go. I think what you're seeing here is he knows he can't win this race. The only way he stays alive in the championship is if something happens to DeFerrin, and he just keeps his car on the road. But the way he's sitting right now, he's in desperate trouble with the championship unless something bad happens to DeFerrin.
Yeah, let's talk about that championship because we always track the points as they are run. You see, Brett currently sits 38 points back. He can't do that. He's got to be less than 22, 23 when he comes out of this race if he wants any chance at all of going against DeFerrin. Pappas and Fittipaldi at it again. At Fontana, the California Speedway, where he'd really like to be because he does so very well on ovals and conversely so poorly on road courses. But remembering, too, that Kenny Breck last year, look at Pappas use that curve. Kenny Breck last year here finished second.
Watch Max Pappas defending the inside there a few corners back. You've got to be very careful here. The entry speed to these chicanes is very, very fast. It's where all the time's made. He's taking a defensive line down the inside, puts them in very early to the corner. You clip the curb there, it'll throw you right into the exit wall. You can see Fittipaldi now starting to catch back up, trying to figure out how to utilize his advantage to make a run on Max Pappas.
Reminder at the front, Moreno, DeFerrin, D'Amata, Tracy, Tagliani. Those are your top 5. Back on board with Junqueira. Junqueira is 11th. His teammate, Memo Gidley, is right behind him.
The last few races, though, Paul, you were talking about keeping championship hopes alive. We've seen such strange results. We've seen Memo Gidley qualify 23rd now 3 times in a row. The last 2 races, he's ended up on the podium. Max Pappas, as we've said, coming from the back to win Laguna Seca. So I think Jan's absolutely right. Kenny Breck's just trying to keep it clean, hopes that there's some misfortune that befalls Gilles DeFerrin, and then tries to capitalize on that to take enough points away to keep his championship hopes alive into Fontana next weekend.
Now, right here is where we saw Franchitti run into trouble. So I'm starting the stopwatch. The reason being is that that's where Franchitti got into trouble. Was there enough time for CART to make a decision to go full course caution and leave the pits open?
Well, I think that's about the halfway point. That's exactly as far away diagonally from the pit in as you can get, way down there in turn number 4.
Well, we're up to 24 seconds and counting. So the point I'm making is that CART went full course caution, and the reason they closed the pits, they did not want to strand somebody at the front of the field, leaving them without an opportunity to pit. But because Vassar and Dixon were upset, that means they had plenty of time to come onto pit road.
You can see how much time there is.
No, we're up to 45 seconds, so you can understand why Jimmy Vassar and also Scott Dixon were upset. They thought the pit should stay open because there should have been plenty of time for them to hit pit road.
Watching further back in the field, and speaking of Jimmy Vassar, there he is. That is Alex Barron, just ahead of Vassar. Barron giving that car a great ride. He has a 2-race opportunity to prove himself as he is replacing Max Wilson in the cockpit of that machine. So it's Moreno, DeFerrin, D'Amata, Toyota, Honda Toyota top 3, the Grand Prix of Australia, the CART FedEx Championship Series.
Will we win? Hopefully. Will we lose? Maybe. Will we learn? Definitely.
The first oil filter ever made back in 1923 wasn't called an oil filter. It was called a Purolator. Today, every car on the road relies on technology pioneered by Purolator. And the same company that invented the oil filter just keeps reinventing it. So that for anyone who cares enough to change their own oil, Purolator continues to mean pure oil then, pure oil now, pure oil later.
What if an internet provider asked you to draw from your imagination to envision taking your internet experience from everyday to extraordinary? You'd create AT&T WorldNet Service Plus. First, you'd start with the fastest logons and better connections. Then you'd add all the latest features, like instant messaging and chat for real-time communication. Not to mention cutting-edge tools like video email, so people can see and hear you every time you send a message. And you'd want live customer support. Now you can get it all from the provider-rated Best ISP by PC World. Call now for AT&T WorldNet Service Plus at just $16.95 a month. That's nearly 30% less than the leading ISP. So call 1-800-WorldNet today and switch to the internet plan that's drawing lots of attention.
Join host Chris Berman and analyst Tom Jackson as they break down all the NFL action on NFL Prime Time. Sunday night, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. The most comprehensive NFL highlight show on television, NFL Prime Time, presented by Miller Lite every Sunday, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Paul Page, Parker Johnstone, Jan Vikas. The Kart FedEx Championship Series, one more race after this to go. But today, Surfers Paradise, Australia. Roberto Moreno is in front. Since we've left you, there have been no changes in the field. Jill DeFerrin sits in second place, followed by Cristiano D'Amata. There's D'Amata, Paul Tracy, Alex Tagliani, and Michael Andretti. Currently in the championship fight, if everything remains the same, Jill DeFerrin will be hoisting the Vanderbilt Cup, symbol of the champion, aloft at the end of this race.
Look at titles still available. Of course, the Drivers' Championship. Scott Dixon looking to wrap up the rookie title. Honda clinched its 4th Manufacturers' Championship in her last race at Laguna. It's 6th Drivers' Championship for Honda. And Renard has won the Constructors' Championship. So we're looking at the Drivers' Championship and the rookie title here possibly being sewn up at Surfers Paradise.
The biggest move as we look at the recap comes from Alex Barron. We mentioned that a few moments ago. He's given that car a great ride and hopefully trying to tap down a permanent seat for next year. 3 changes among the leaders, though DeFerrin has dominated it. And we've had 2 cautions. And both of them, the flags thrown rather early. Apparently a great deal of concern in race control over the narrowness of this track.
Mentioned earlier, Roberto Moreno being so good on full tanks, fresh tires. He's now 3.5 seconds ahead of Gilles DeFerrin. We'll see if this interval closes as this run progresses. Cristiano D'Amata, though, hanging on to the back of DeFerrin, just under a second behind him.
Now, we also talk about, Parker, we have talked about how Moreno took the lead. And you've talked about how he's good on cold tires. That's what a lot of people talk about. What separates the men from the boys is going out on a full tank of fuel on cold tires. And if you're running for a championship, you don't take a big risk. You don't go out there and just hang it all out. But Moreno could, and it certainly paid off.
Absolutely. I mean, we used to comment about Juan Montoya's ability on the starts and the restarts, and after these pit stops to just pull out huge intervals on the rest of the field. But you're right. Here, when you're lined with concrete walls, there's no reason to take a risk when you know that that $1 million championship looms just in front of you.
A little while ago, they were reporting that Mauricio Guzman's engine was running rough. He's anticipating a pit stop in the next few moments here. And again, when we show you in the upper left-hand corner the full field summary as we watch Guzman come in, the boxes that are yellow background, those are the 3 drivers who are in contention for the championship at this race. There's a very bad sign.
Mauricio Guzman's had a tough weekend. He's got a small chip fracture of his right hand, suffered earlier in the weekend.
And what you saw him pull off there was helicopter rotor tape. And they use it on all the cars, is that on any seam on the car, you'll put this very sticky, very strong tape that will, that's why they put it on helicopter rotors. It protects them, and that helps keep the bodywork on, and you got to peel that off before you can get under the bonnet.
I use it on my laptop, keep the battery in. It doesn't work. There is also a report coming from Surfers Paradise now. Complaints by the Letterman Rahal team, Kenny Breck in particular, that he feels like Helio Castroneves is blocking him.
Little team orders going on, you think?
Well, it's not necessary.
Of course not. They're in the fight for second in the championship, if not the championship itself. Castroneves is just not going to move over and let Kenny Breck by. He's going to make him work for it.
Well, he's definitely driving defensively. And what you do, the first thing you do is you get on the radio and you say the guy's blocking me.
Well, you start doing that when you're about 10 car lengths behind him. Right. You start setting the stage when you're not even close to passing the guy.
Right, hoping that Cart will contact the team and say, we're watching you for blocking. That gets him distracted. Then you can go for the big move and just dart your way up the inside.
Well, we saw Castroneves locking up that left front wheel. But the kart rulebook states you can make one move. It's not considered blocking unless you react to the change of position of the car that's following you. So for Cash Neves, if he wants to drive down the inside, that's his right to drive there, but he can't change line in reaction to Kenny Breck repositioning in his car in an attempt to pass.
So is that 2 moves and a chicane?
Whoa! I don't know, but Cash Neves is definitely trying to stand on it, and this is very unlike Castor Neves' style. He starts pushing a little bit hard, starts maybe feeling a little pressure from behind. He's going to start scrubbing some speed. Kenny Breck's getting out of his rhythm. Now Kenny Breck just has to figure out how to take advantage of these small mistakes that Cash Neves is making.
Now remember, early on there was a radio communication that Castro Neves was losing power. That was what he thought was inhibiting him. Now, if you're a little bit low on power, you have to drive defensively because you think you can push it in the corners, but if you don't, you're going to be a dead duck down the straightaway.
Well, I don't know. I watched him go down that last straightaway behind Kenny Breck, or in front of Kenny Breck. Kenny Breck certainly, with forward power, has got plenty of top line speed. We're not seeing him close that interval going down those straightaways.
Here's where Helio Castroneves just totally lost the back end and caught it. You love it when you're looking out the side of the cockpit to see where your nearest competitor is in front of you.
And it's easy to do there. Big crown on the road, similar to sort of the leaps you do at Mid-Ohio. And if you don't have the car set up properly, as you come over the top on power, the back end will step out.
Now, Parker, we've talked about the fact that maybe he's low on power. Remember, they are telling us that he did not take on a full load of fuel, so his car will be lighter than Kenny Breck's.
And battle continues to move down on top of 6th place Michael Andretti. It's Moreno, DeFerrin, D'Amata, Tracy, Tagliani. The country famous for kangaroos, Australia. Kangaroos, koalas, and of course, Surfer's Paradise. We'll be back.
Grandpa?
Where is the most exciting car racing happening today? I'd say in the CART Toyota Atlantic Series. Each car receives an identical Toyota fuel-injected engine. So what's the difference? Skill and guts. These are 60 to 100-mile sprint races with no pit stops.
Welcome to the annual ESPN the Magazine Sports Mascot Picnic. Hey, Billy. Every year, pro and college mascots come from all over the country to swap stories, compare dance steps, nice moves, Freddie, and talk about how much they love ESPN the Magazine and show off their free sweatshirts we give every new ESPN the Magazine subscriber. You're looking hot, Devil. You know, more mascots subscribe to ESPN the Magazine than any other sports magazine in the world. Swoop, Billy, Freddie, Pat, what are you guys reading? Oh, should have known. John Clayton's NFL Reports. Doesn't get any better than that. Right, guys? Hey,
call now for ESPN the Magazine. Sports the way it ought to be. Bigger, bolder, with previews, predictions, inside information, and attitude you can only get from ESPN.
Every new subscriber gets this ESPN the Magazine sweatshirt absolutely free. These high-quality sweatshirts are extra large and roomy. Fits all shapes and sizes, from devils to penguins. And the new hooded sweatshirt looks good on anyone, even if your skin tone skews slightly blue or orange.
Subscribe now. Get 26 issues 1 year for just $1 an issue. And this new hooded sweatshirt is free.
Hey, if you're a sports mascot or simply a regular human who loves sports, pick up the phone and call for ESPN the Magazine and your free sweatshirt.
1-800-839-4422.
For our first Toyota Spotlight, we want to take a look at Gil DeFerrin. What a wonderful run he has had this year. Remember the run at Rockingham in England? Houston, all the action, and then he comes up on top. Laguna Seca, another good run. All of these have kept DeFerrin that consistency in the championship fight. At Surfer's Paradise, the view is Dario Franchitti. The car off into one of the runoff areas, a bit of smoke from the back of the car, and Dario has climbed out.
And Mauricio Gugelmin getting out as well.
Gugelmin, the report had been the engine was running rough. Going to be a painful day. You notice he'll favor the right wrist. Got a chipped bone on that wrist due to accident at Surfers in the practice. Michael Andretti, 6th position. That battle continues behind him. Helio Castroneves and Kenny Breck, despite complaints of, we'll put it in quotation marks, blocking by Castroneves, no action has been taken. So apparently the chief steward, Chris Neifel, and his staff have not yet seen an action that they believe to be blocking, at least enough of an action that they would take some sort of penalty during the race.
On board with last year's winner, Adrian Fernandez, started in 17th position, currently running in 18th.
And if it's a bit of a prediction to the end of this race, Fernandez won last year on a really brilliant fuel strategy and often figuring out how to time those pit stops, when to bring them in and how much fuel to give them. Of course, you have to start with a full fuel load. They're going to look at that as a rule for next year and maybe put all of the fuel in the pit side tank and let you start the race with a short fuel if you want to. But under the current rules, you start with a full 35 gallons on board. But still, fuel strategy is really a very interesting game.
A lot of consideration being given to try to take out the driver adjustability of the mixture control. They're having problems policing right now any of the electronics. I think that might be difficult to do, but certainly they need to do something to take away the luck that's involved, or the pure luck that we've seen in the last few races of just happening to hit the yellows at the right time, so that kind of alleviates engineering skill, driving skill, team's ability to do pit stops. Just being in the right place at the right time has worked out more often than not to determine the winner.
Running down at this point, the Esplanade, the Pacific Ocean, is just off to your right.
This one's 60 miles an hour in second gear in qualifying, but you tend to use third gear in the race. If you go up one gear, you get better fuel economy. And certainly that was a nice...
Helio Castroneves just ran off course.
Was third in the championship. He and Breck, the only two drivers that could challenge DeFerrin, but I'm afraid...
Yeah, he's saying that's it.
International sign for I killed it.
Spun it, motors down, and that could spell the end of any hope, as faint as it may have been, for a championship for Helio Castroneves. He wants to get going again, but he really needs to be up winning this race. Look at that.
Just locks up the rear brakes on the way in. Can't make the corner, tries to keep it off the tires, does a nice job there.
Now, if they go full course caution, they're in a window. If they go full course caution, expect everybody to come in and try and fill that thing up with fuel.
Yeah, he just carried a huge amount of speed into that corner. There was no way he was going to make it. Was all over the binders. Was very, very fortunate not to hit anything. He made a last-minute decision there, started to back it up, and then he stalled it.
They're still waving yellow flags only in that area of the track. He got off the edge, but look at everybody that anticipated perhaps the yellow.
They thought it was going to come out.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, boy, you sure hope there wasn't a miscommunication to where maybe they said they were going to go full course and change their mind, because otherwise these guys are up the creek.
What's your best guess, guys? About 5 laps before they would have to come in, and this group could even wait, some of these guys, till a bit later than that.
Well, the math is pretty easy here. They have to go 24 laps. They can do that, but they're really going to have to stretch. We've seen guys with help from the yellow come in on lap 22, 23. So they're going to have to do a splash and go at the end unless we've got another yellow.
Well, you flat don't pit unless you think it's going to go full course yellow. So either they were rolling the dice and gambling that they were going to throw it, or they got some bad communication.
We saw Carpente, one of those cars that came into the pits. Remember, he was penalized for coming in as the pits closed. So I think they simply took a gamble and they lost. Moreno now 6.2 seconds out ahead of DeFerrin. D'Amata 1.2 seconds behind DeFerrin. So Moreno now extending his lead.
Remember, Moreno scored a victory at Vancouver this year. All of his victories have come on temporary circuits, and he's looking so very strong here.
Better get the Kleenex box ready, Paul.
Remember, he's been in the series off and on, 9 seasons full-time in the season. But he drove his first race in the series in 1985. Castroneves, they did get restarted, and he's back rolling again.
As we mentioned, Jourdain and Moreno This is their 100th start, as you said. Moreno starting back in 85.
Oh!
Jourdain got to 100 starts starting from 1996.
Get a big tank slapper in the middle of one of these chicanes, and that'll get your heart going. That was quite a moment for Tagliani.
He was looking down like he was trying to find a gear.
Well, that's not where you go looking for it. Remember his teammate Carpente crashed at Nazareth because he had his head down in the cockpit looking at the display as he went into a corner. And Pat looked at me afterwards and said, well, you know how that is. And I said, no, I don't.
Watch this.
He just gets the timing all wrong. The back end steps out. This is back on the back section of the course.
And all you can do is get out of it there.
Turn 7 chicane. It's the fastest chicane, 85 to 90 miles an hour. They've opened that up the last few years. Nice that he recovered. Fortunately, the exit there is pretty wide.
I think he kind of looked down. It's another sign just that I'm having trouble. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. There must be something wrong with the car.
What was this steering wheel thinking there? I don't know. I've got a microphone that does that every once in a while.
Our coverage coming from Channel 10 Australia, with Moreno still in the lead. De Ferran sits back in second, and Cristiano D'Amata is third. Paul Tracy's hanging then at 4th position, and Tagliani, despite pitching it sideways in the chicane, is in 5th. We'll be back.
2 tires, identical. Same brand name, same size, same color. So why does this one cost so much less than this one? Because this one comes from Mavis Discount Tire, where you get low prices on every tire, every day, guaranteed. At Mavis, it's our job to have the brands you want at low prices, period. So call 1-800-4-TRACTION and stop paying too much for your tires.
Typical car insurance agent is on the job during regular business hours. On the other hand, Geico insurance professionals are on the job 24 hours a day. Geico, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Oh, I didn't want mail.
You don't have to sacrifice service to save money. Geico, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Got a research assignment. 10 pages on a historical innovator.
Well, who'd you pick?
Gotta experience the man, the results of his work.
Who'd you pick?
See, the problem with your basic historical innovator is, well, most of them are historical.
Sam, who'd you pick?
Walt Disney?
Come share the excitement at our year-long celebration of Walt Disney's 100th birthday.
We need to experience Walt's vision on Space Mountain.
Again?
Make plans at DisneyWorld.com.
It's research.
The race is Surfers Paradise, Australia. The Grand Prix of Australia. Paul Page, Parker Johnstone, Jan Beekes with you. Gary Gerald has the weekend off.
He's on a 1-race probation.
No, wait, not. 44 laps are complete by the leader, Roberto Moreno, and Helio Castroneves takes that run off the course and now stops on lap 45.
Probably wants to change those Flintstone Mobile tires. I think he flat spotted the heck out of that last set. Nice pit stop. My favorite part of pit stops, the burnout.
Shinji Nakano. I assume with that length of time that for Castroneves that was a full fuel. Though you couldn't see the back of the fuel, you couldn't tell if they were going to time that stop or not. Normally they use a stick and tap the refueler on the back, but you assume that's full. There's a report too that there may be a spray at the back of Paul Tracy's car. He's back there behind D'Amata. We'll try to get an eyeball on him.
And that would be a full load for Castroneves, Paul. They're right at the window, 21 laps or so. Now we're down, of course, at 20. But when Castroneves came in, they'll need every bit of that. They can turn it up to full rich and run to the end now.
Yeah, and I think, Parker, that's what you watch. You watch up on the top now where it says 46 of 65, and every lap that's completed is less fuel they have to take on their last pit stop. So they're calculating as this race progresses, the more laps you can do, the faster your final pit stop.
Yeah, you'll see those fueler sticks come out, and the guy get whacked on the back because they'll try to pick up track position with that short fuel. load on this last stop.
Now, there's a couple of different techniques that the team uses. You've talked about the stick, where when they think they've had enough fuel, they hit you with the stick. The Penske team actually has LEDs inside the helmets of their fuelers.
High-tech stick.
Yep, and the Newman Haas. Uh-oh, is Moreno slowing?
Well, looks like he was grabbing for a couple of gears.
Oh.
Here comes DeFerrin.
That's
Moreno
exactly what
finally
happened.
found something that's got him power, but not nearly enough.
And the problem is that's on the upshift out of the chicane, and that's normally just foot on the throttle. You pull up as fast as you can, and as we've said so many times in the past with these sequential gearboxes, once you round a dog, damage a gear, they tend to go very quickly, and you destroy the entire gearbox. We'll see if he can hang on. Occasionally, it is possible, if you're not forceful, if you're starting to get a little tired on that upshift, if you don't pull back hard, it's possible to get a false neutral. Anybody that's ridden motorcycles has done that. You're not very crisp or very precise on a gear shift. You'll find a false neutral in the gearbox, and it takes you a moment to get that next shift. Find the true gear on the way up, because now it looks like he's back up to speed, but if he's damaged that box, this will come apart very, very quickly.
Whatever it was, it brought the rest of the field from nearly 4-second advantage to right on top of him. Look at DeFerrin. DeFerrin heads for the pits, jams on the brakes so that he can make the speed limit line. Paul Tracy comes right in with him.
That was cool. I thought he was going to pass him up the pit road there for a minute.
And the problem is when that happens, just that little bit of distraction, it throws you off your rhythm. All of a sudden, that nice cushion that he had.
Okay, this should be a time stop. Again, the Penske team uses the lights inside the fueler's helmet. Kenny Breck's already underway, but he's at pit in.
They use the stick, too. LEDs and a big old stick.
It's a backup. That's a backup.
The backup.
My wife has a backup stick, and it has nothing to do with fueling. I keep asking her, did you get it? And she keeps saying, get what? She just whacks me with that thing. We saw the backup there.
Relative positions remain the same. Moreno in trouble again. This time under attack from D'Amata. D'Amata takes the lead.
He's having some sort of problem where he just got so rattled. Now, look at him look in the mirror. He might be having a problem with a particular gear now that he's trying to nurse, but D'Amata, seeing a problem, attacked and made a very, very nice pass.
Brings Michael Andretti to third, Tagliani to fourth. Of course, they're all due for stops.
Yeah, now for Newman Haas, who, of course, Cristiano D'Amata drives for, their technique, they have put their LEDs on the actual fuel probe. And what happens is they all light up. And during the pit stop, the LEDs gradually go out in a sequence, kind of like a countdown. They pre-program it for how many gallons they want, and they watch this each LED extinguish until they see the last one. They pull it out, and that's their technique for timing the stops.
Slower version of what the driver uses for their upshifts. I don't know if I'd want to make that fuel probe any more complicated or heavy, any heavier than it already is.
I don't want electricity on my fuel probe.
Yeah, well, I think that's good advice, Paul.
So now here is Michael Andretti in. Tagliani is in. D'Amata, Moreno have remained out. Remember, Moreno carried it one full lap further, so you would assume that he's going to get a lap to 2 laps beyond the stop made by DeFerrin.
Andretti came in at third, Tag in fourth. It'll take a few laps before everyone gets his final pit stop in, and then it shakes out. We can see DeFerrin coming through in that last shot.
And now they are confirming our guess that with Moreno, it is a gearbox problem.
You see some serious conage there as we saw Cristiano D'Amata just attacking the chicane right over the top of the cones.
Look at him go. See, these guys know my in-lap, this is cool to watch.
Yeah.
My in-lap is going to make a difference as to whether I can win this race. It is cool stuff. It's like doing qualifying in the middle of a race. Can I really lay it down before I come onto pit road?
Experienced guys like Jim McGee at Pat Patrick, Ed Nethman also at Pat Patrick will tell you that you've got to absolutely put in the best lap of the race on these in-laps. So we could see the carcasses of the cones out on the track. Cristiano D'Amata just absolutely throwing the slowly in as he comes into the pits.
Now, little guy had just a terrific lap before his in, his pit just beyond the entrance.
Now he's shooting for about a 10-second pit stop is my guess.
He's looking at those LEDs he talked about. Oh, didn't get to see the end of that one as Roberto Moreno, the race leader, pits.
But just the way that Moreno came to a stop, it just didn't have that same kind of fire. He knows that he's got something wrong with that car.
Yeah, whether or not he can even get away.
No problem there.
Clutch is working, first gear hooks up.
But as he said, he came in very slowly. We didn't see the typical lock-up slide to a stop on the marks. You could see D'Amata cleanly out in front there.
Look at this. You catch a view just behind as they came out. Michael Andretti ahead of DeFerrin. Moreno is ahead of DeFerrin.
Again, it's because they pitted later. Just like what happened to DeFerrin last time, is the fact that DeFerrin has to pit earlier, so therefore he's out there running on a heavy tank of fuel, and these guys go for it on a light load, and that's really paying off.
So some of the field yet to stop, including this guy, Jimmy Vasser, and the rookie right behind him, Scott Dixon, trying to wrap up Rookie of the Year honors. Looks like he's got a pretty good handle on those. We'll be back.
She wore white? She put her past behind her. But you're missing the point of the story. The groom's father-in-law hires him to run the mismanaged shipping department of the family business.
No honeymoon?
A week in a while.
That's nice.
Not bad, but keep up. The kid turns to FedEx Ground. They give him affordable nationwide B2B delivery with a money-back guarantee. And he gives Daddy Dearest a high-quality, low-cost lesson in who's the boss.
Who is the boss?
The kid.
The kid is now the boss?
The kid is now the boss.
That's the story?
That's it.
What would happen if an SUV were raised by a family of sports cars?
Zoom, zoom.
Zoom, zoom, zoom. Ha. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Yeah, zoom, 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 zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The 200 horsepower Mazda Tribute. The SUV with the soul of a sports car.
Discover the amazing hitting secrets of America's finest baseball school in Teaching the Mechanics of the Major League Swing 2. Tommy Mansky's powerful teaching video that features the same revolutionary techniques that have produced baseball world's back-to-back-to-back AAU national championship teams. Parents, players, and coaches have been simply amazed at their students' rapid week-by-week improvement. These award-winning techniques benefit players of all ages and ability levels and make a valuable addition to any coach's library and a great gift. At just $29.95, call now.
15 years later, it's still unbelievable. The story behind the 1986 World Series. Babylon, 9 p.m. tonight, only on ESPN Classic. To get ESPN Classic, call 1-800-CLASSIC today.
At Surfers Paradise, Australia, Roberto Moreno continues to work with an ill-handling race car. Lined up now behind Michael Andretti with DeFerrin just behind him.
I think the big question mark with Moreno is actually the gearbox or some other mechanical malady. DeFerrin knows Kenny Breck right now is back in 10th place. All DeFerrin has to do is leave this place somewhere in the vicinity of Breck, just ahead, with him, just behind him. He's got the championship sewn up as we come into that last race at Fontana. And he'll be one of only 4 drivers then to win back-to-back championships. Looking back to Rick Mears in 81-82, Ray Hall in 86 and 87, and our good friend Alex Zanardi in 97 and 1998.
Michel Jourdain Jr., as Parker mentioned earlier, making his 100th start in the series along with Roberto Moreno. And back to the front, Jimmy Vasser.
Now, here's an interesting thought. Jimmy Vasser has a light car. He's pushing hard. He will not need as much fuel as the other guys. Is this going to play the way it has for everyone else? Is the last person to hit the pit road going to have the biggest advantage?
Yeah, but he's only got about 9 seconds on the group that is actually already totally refueled. I wouldn't think that's nearly enough.
I think you're right, Paul.
Why, thanks, Mark.
It certainly is going to gain him track position from where he was running earlier.
Dixon is second.
And he's coming into the slowest corner right here, 40 miles an hour, and then you have to try and turn and put 900 horsepower down to the ground. Vasser hits pit road.
So Jimmy Vasser heads in while Dixon's going to take it another full lap, another well over 2 miles. And those would be the sounds of the guys who have already done their final stops.
Well, we just proposed, is it possible? And I think we have the answer.
Jimmy Vasser won back here in 1996 from the pole. Signed next year with Bobby Rahal. That was announced at Laguna.
And that, that pit stop is not going to help you either. It had to be much faster than that.
So hard to tell from this camera angle sometimes. You saw Casper Nevis going by there. He's actually on the track and in action while you watch Vassar come off of the pit exit. It joins right at a sweeping bend that is part of the front, really the pit straightaway here. Casper Nevis, by the way, is a lap behind the race, 22nd place. Championship hopes went away when he went sliding off the corner.
And that back chicane, Parker, that is really the signature corner, isn't it?
It is so fun to drive that corner. And actually, the corner that leads onto that, the 5-6 complex, it's amazing how much speed you can carry in there from 180 miles an hour. It looks deceptively slow, except you take a tremendous amount of speed, and then you get down to that quick right, left chicane, the 7 complex. It just takes your breath away every time you go through there.
Now he should pit, right?
Yep. Yeah. And he does. Scott Dixon getting great fuel mileage, as well as turning great laps, coming in the lead. But as we saw with Vassar, that'll drop him well back in the standings.
It'll give the lead of the race over to Cristiano D'Amata.
There he goes. This is a cool camera angle. I like that.
That one's not bad either.
There goes second, third, fourth, fifth.
You guys play your computer games at home. You sit there and make noises with it.
Oh, that's a shame, because he and Vassar certainly were running quickly, but the problem is, like you said, Paul, they started from way too far back, so they just couldn't take advantage of being out front.
In that championship battle, as we continue to track it in progress, now just 2 competitors, Jill DeFerrin and Kenny Breck. Breck has actually fallen a 4-point deficit from when he started the race. He started 26 behind. He's now 30 behind, and that will give the championship, should it continue on that way, over to Jill DeFerrin. There's the koala up in his eucalyptus tree, taking a nap most of the day, most of the night. Another symbol of Australia.
I've been racing for 36 years. There's one thing that I've learned. Racing is all about trust. Trust in your crew, trust in your car.
Most importantly, trust in your tires.
We race on Firestone. They're committed to building quality tires.
Because whether you're going over 200 miles per hour
or just going home, it's all about trust.
Some places have silly ideas to bring you in. But once you get to the taste, where's the fresh? Want something made fresh? Try one of the new Subway Selects.
We've got 4 new Subway Selects, like the delicious horseradish steak and cheese.
Subway, eat fresh. Asthma was watching my kids grow up and not always being able to participate.
Advair is an asthma product that's clinically proven to improve lung function and increase symptom-free days to help you do more of the things you want to do. That's because Advair is the first and only product to effectively treat the 2 main components of asthma, airway constriction and inflammation. Just 1 inhalation, morning and night. Advair won't replace fast-acting inhalers for sudden symptoms and should not be taken more than twice a day. People switching from an oral steroid like prednisone to Advair, which contains an inhaled steroid, need to be especially careful. While adjusting to the switch, your body may not be as able to heal after surgery, infection, or serious injury. If you have heart or blood pressure problems, tell your doctor. Some people may experience a change in heart rhythm. See your doctor if your asthma does not improve. Ask your doctor if Advair is right for you. Advair, because life should take your breath away, not asthma.
Now get the Wall Street Journal delivered for 8 weeks at just 38 cents a day, a 50% savings. Call now 800-553-4400. That's 800-553-4400 for the Wall Street Journal.
The Kart FedEx Championship Series, Surfers Paradise, Australia. D'Amata is the leader. He had about, 8.5 seconds last time across the line, but Michael Andretti is slowly shaving time off of the leader of the race. In the meantime, 3rd place is Roberto Moreno. His gearbox problem seems to have equalized for the moment. Right behind him is DeFerrin and Tagliani, then Tracy and Kenny Breck.
Well, we've got a couple of unanswered questions. First of all, that last lap, Michael took off a big chunk of time to Cristiano D'Amata. We're not quite sure how, but we'll find that out. And we had Tagliani under direct attacking Gilles de Ferran.
Did I see some smoke there from Moreno?
That's what it looked like.
But it certainly would fit with the reports that we've had.
Now, if you're wondering why all of a sudden he can run fairly quickly, remember there was a race that he did last year that he lost one gear, and he was very apologetic to the team that it took him a while to learn how to drive it that way. Well, he's obviously learned his lesson, and he's pushing that car hard.
Second round of stops started at lap 40. Look at the big moves forward. Jourdain Jr., Vassar, Dixon.
Well, we know why that was.
But then Dixon, who was leading, fell back to 8th place when he rejoined the fight.
Oh, look at Tagliani on the outside of de Ferran.
And de Ferran just says, I'm not playing with that.
Yeah.
Homie, don't play that. He just backed right out of that. Michael Andretti on that last lap took another 2.5 seconds off Cristiano D'Amata's lead.
Yeah, but think about de Ferran. First, he's got Tagliani behind him, just with the reputation of aggressive. Now he's got Paul Tracy.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
It's like, oh, gosh.
Well, I'll just keep moving back here. Where's Breck?
Yeah, but that's the problem. Breck is next.
Exactly right.
Ah.
But even then, de Ferran can just get behind Breck. I mean, if you're going to slide back and just sit there and collect the $1 million Vanderbilt.
There's that
Moreno's definitely got a problem.
Yeah, and that problem may be spraying all over Tagliani and the track. Look at Tracy. Runs right up under de Ferran's wing. Tagliani goes for Moreno. Moreno goes for the pits.
And that's it.
Watch Tracy. Watch Tracy coming up on this first corner. Go back to the first corner.
Come on. The chicane is. Oh, well. What do you think happened?
I think Tracy made a move, and Tracy, I think, got him.
I would agree with you.
Yeah, that's what I think happened.
He had such a good run on him there. They all got bottled up behind Moreno, and Tracy obviously just kept his foot in it. Michael Andretti now almost another second.
Let's see. Look up the track.
Has cut the lead to D'Amata. Well, they're 10 seconds behind this battle, so it's going to be a long look up the track. Right now, Andretti now just over 4 seconds behind D'Amata, but then they have over 10 seconds to this group.
So now just under 10 laps to go in the run at Surfers Paradise, Australia. De Ferran can hang in there. He's still in championship position. Moreno climbs out. His day is over. And for Kenny Breck, he's got 10 laps to do something very serious if he wants to stay in the championship.
It's a little hot under here.
Hot? That is nothing. The Toyota V8 in the Pac West Champ car burns a gallon of methanol every 30 seconds. It's pumping out 100,000 BTUs a minute. That's enough heat in one race to keep your bedroom warm all winter.
I said it's hot.
Oh, I know.
Schultz never knew there were tunnels.
He didn't want to know, but you're missing the point of the story. A young entrepreneur engrossed in a Hogan's Heroes marathon neglects to ship an important package.
Did he know about the radio and the coffee pot?
He knew nothing. Now focus. Like a swallow returning to Capistrano, he instinctively heads to FedEx. They give his small business package the big business treatment, and another hobgoblin of success falls victim to FedEx efficiency.
What is a hobgoblin?
A gnome. A mean, angry gnome.
If you're concerned about hair loss, call Hair Club now and get this booklet or CD-ROM free. It's packed with the latest information on hair loss breakthroughs from around the world, including hair cloning and genetic therapy. It's loaded with the latest updates on all the proven hair loss options available today, including approved drugs, shampoos, and Hair Club's new procedures. So call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now to get more information. Hair Club, over 25 years of hair loss experience available at your fingertips.
Like a lot of organizations, ESPN was having trouble with their carpet. So they had me install a more natural surface. This grass we install is the best. It's a good Bermuda.
No hot water on that, okay? Yeah, that'll set the stain.
It lays down very, very pretty.
Still to come on SportsCenter the rest of the night in the NBA.
Wherever you are, I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than grass.
Discover who the best players in baseball were this season as voted by the players themselves this Sunday at the Players' Choice Awards. The show will feature narrators Cal Ripken Jr., Tony Gwynn, and Eric Davis. The Major League Baseball Players Association Players' Choice Awards, Sunday night at 6 Eastern, only on ESPN. For more, log on to ESPN.com. No changes since we've left you. D'Amata, Andretti, Tagliani, Tracy, DeFerrin, and Breck. Let's think about Breck.
You want to talk about this, don't you?
Well, you know, I mean, there's some logic to it.
Breck behind DeFerrin. If you're Kenny Breck, how do you punt gracefully? I guess that's the question, isn't it, Paul?
Well, I think he's actually a better sport than that, but the championship is on the line. A little, not even a nudge, just you have to be there.
The Vanderbilt Cup, of course, being able to have the bragging rights. Ooh, that suspension is not right.
And will that bring out a full course caution? It is Junqueira. Now, it looks like it's well enough down the course that it's safe. I can't tell where that is, though.
Certainly with a adjusted right front camber angle.
Yeah, and a little bit of toe change there as well. They go hand in hand. That's one escape road I don't believe I've been down, so I can't tell you which one it is.
And that's another driver who is probably looking for a ride for next season. Not probably, he is looking.
And with that retirement, Scott Dixon has clinched the Rookie of the Year honors, so that's another check off the list there. So congratulations to Scott Dixon.
And the championship looks like it's in the hands of Jill DeFerrin right now. He can feel that championship. We watch Tracy.
Tracy now.
DeFerrin's behind him.
Yeah, with his sights set on Tagliani. Well, by seeing those yellow flags, that would be the guess as to where Junqueira went down the escape road. And of course, Paul Tracy did get by DeFerrin, so he did complete that pass in turn number 1. I thought he was working on Tagliani, got confused there briefly, but you know what? The way that he's running.
This is Junqueira getting in trouble.
Oh, yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Just under braking. Gets it locked up, slides into the wall to the right, going down into turn 3. Casaneves still having braking problems. Anti-lock braking system between his brain and that foot's not quite working the way it should. It's a problem here. You push very hard, but the slightest mistake, and you have just that split instant to decide whether to try to attempt to make the corner or you take it down the escape road.
So D'Amata has nearly 5 seconds. On second place, Michael Andretti, then Tagliani, then Tracy, then DeFerrin, Kenny Breck, Scott Dixon.
It had worked down to 4.6 seconds, but Cristiano D'Amata, 130 pounds dripping wet. I think that's grossly overstated. He's pulled it back out to 5 seconds even over Michael Andretti now.
He's driving hard, isn't he?
He has been.
Yeah, I mean, he's not cruising in the lead by any stretch of the imagination.
We've seen him pounding the curbs lap after lap. Once more on board with Bruno Junqueira coming down into turn 3. On the brakes down here, locks up the rears, turns the front of the car into the wall, slides right down the escape road.
Second place, Michael Andretti. Look at the interval up the track to Tagliani. And there's the view from inland out to Surfer's Paradise in Queensland. Boy, it's a place that everybody loves to visit. Toyota, Honda, Ford, top 3.
I just saved her $120 on a set of Goodyears. At Mavis Discount Tire, it's our job to save people money on their tires. Mavis even has 4 all-season steel-belted radials from just $99 every day. 4 tires for 99 bucks. Mavis Discount Tire guarantees low prices to the brands you want. Call 1-800-4TRACTION. We're going to save you money, a lot of money.
This is my final plea. I am a gecko. Not to be confused with Geico, which could save you hundreds on car insurance. So stop calling me.
Geico. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance. So you want to change your name? People confusing you with Geico, calling you at all hours? What name would you like?
Komodo Dragon, please.
Geico. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
I drive a 900 horsepower Champ car for a living, and it's a pure adrenaline rush. Before they start the engine, I have to be securely buckled in. Whether you drive one of these or one of these, always use your seat belts. Make sure that your passengers do too. Knowing that you and your family are safe is the greatest adrenaline rush in the world.
Boomer, you still think the 85 Bears defense is better than the Ravens?
Yep.
Tune in to RPM tonight at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN2. The complete wrap-up of the CART Australia race, Winston Cups in Phoenix, and the NHRA from Las Vegas. RPM tonight, your complete source for motorsports tonight, 10 on ESPN2. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Closing 5 laps now. D'Amata, Andretti, Tagliani, the top 3. Tracy and Tagliani tending to battle with one another. You ride with Dixon. That's Kenny Brack just ahead of him. And Brack currently in sixth place.
Yeah, he's pushing Brack. He's definitely closing in on Kenny.
He has been the last few laps. We're watching those onboards, just like D'Amata, crashing every curb, driving extremely hard. But that's all we've seen from this young man. Winner earlier at Nazareth this year, the youngest in CART history at 20 years and 9 months. Shows amazing maturity for someone so young on the track.
Jimmy Vasser's in there too in 8th place, right behind Dixon.
Yeah, I was saying Jimmy Vasser looks like he's also on a charge. Kenny Brack is just doing everything he can. Of course, we hypothesized as to what would he do when he got up behind DeFerrin, but right now he can't do anything because he can't stay with him.
We saw the same problem with Kenny at Houston, where he had a car that just wasn't working for him. He drove it as hard as he could and just hung on.
Watch the sidewall deflection of the tire here. This is pretty cool. Look how much change in the steering coming off that corner. .190 miles an hour. Okay, he goes down to 3rd. Again, what you do in the race, 2nd in qualifying.
And these are so difficult to judge on the exit of these chicanes. It goes downhill off camber here. It sets you right into the wall.
That wasn't good. He locked up the rear brakes there. And as a result, Vasser's taking advantage.
Vasser sitting right on the back end of Dixon's car now. Vasser.
Oh! Was that a move in reaction to?
Yeah, but look what it did.
It didn't help.
Jimmy said, please, come on in. The water is nice. He had him looking, and now look at Vasser just disappear on him. He sucked him in big time.
And look, he just cranked off the fast lap of the race at the same time, 106.9.
With just a few laps to go, D'Amata now 6.7 seconds ahead of Andretti. This event's had 10 different winners in the 10 times it's been run. We're looking at number 11, but Jimmy Vasser just on fire here.
Now think of what might have been if Jimmy Vasser had been in the faster qualifying group.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because he's had a fast car this weekend. He's showing it now. And what a huge penalty if you're not in the fast group. You have to start mid-pack or worse.
And it's yet another area the CART's been examined. That CART has examined, has been asked to re-examine, because once you're in that slower group, getting out is nearly impossible. And for someone like Jimmy Vasser, if he would have had a better starting position, we might see a very different race at the front.
And it is one, though, that they said they would be taking a hard look at in their rules review over the winter. D'Amata out by nearly 8 seconds ahead of 2nd place Michael Andretti, and Jill DeFerrin sitting in 5th. That's championship position for Jill DeFerrin. The Grand Prix of Australia, final laps when we return.
So the bun cake was bad.
The bun cake was abysmal, but you're missing the point of the story. The entire staff has food poisoning, leaving packages to be shipped, deadlines to be met, and one sales manager to do it all.
Just one?
One.
You didn't have the bun cake.
He had the Danish. Stay with me. He jumps on FedEx.com. He's shipping. He's tracking. Getting confirmations on his cell phone. His pagers, PDA.
He's got a PDA?
Everybody's got a PDA. Nevertheless, packages arrive. He triumphs over adversity.
I don't have PDA.
Check, please.
Now the same feeling is available in a car. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Introducing the all-new Mazda Protégé 5. Yeah, zoom, 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 zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same feeling. Zoom, zoom. New form. Hey, mama.
At 160 miles an hour, your heart rate triples. At 200 miles an hour, your muscles strain and distend. At 230 miles an hour, it's not uncommon for headaches to begin. And that's just what the crew is going through.
Hey, you're clear, you're clear.
This is Will Burns. You've reached my cell phone. Leave me a message, and I'll call you back.
Will, it's Gail. I can't believe you're not answering your phone. Look, get back here. The client changed their mind. They actually like the work. All we have to do is show the plans to one more group, and the job is ours. Call me before it's too late.
With ordinary cell phones, you leave messages, but with Nextel Direct Connect, the digital two-way radio, you get right through.
Closing laps now. Surfers Paradise, Australia, the Grand Prix of Australia. Michelle Jourdain working Dixon very hard. Battle is for 8th.
And Dixon.
Jourdain's got him.
Oh, not yet, Batman.
Well, let's see where it goes now.
You want to be on, well...
Wrong side.
Yeah, exactly. Dixon's got it back.
But Dixon must have a problem because there's no way you would normally be alongside before you even got to the exit of that final corner, turn 12.
Christian Fittipaldi behind Jourdain, close it in too.
Yep,
Jourdain tries him again.
He's got a gearbox problem getting off the corners, apparently.
Where's Jourdain? Look to the left.
Listen, let's listen.
Where is he?
Yeah, see, he's got a big gearbox problem. That's exactly what I thought.
And Jourdain still has it.
But look at Fittipaldi.
No. Fittipaldi's going to take advantage of all this.
Whoa.
Well, that was the end of it,
This isn't over. Here comes Fittipaldi, just like you said.
Pappas right behind him. Dixon's gearbox is done.
Pappas, Fittipaldi, Gidley.
This battle for 8th place. Jourdain finished 7th. Actually, I'm looking at his qualifying and finishing positions. Best was 6th at Vancouver this year and a 3rd at Michigan on the oval.
White flag just came out for Cristiano D'Amata. It also, in its way, signals the white flag of the championship battle. 1 lap to go, and Jill DeFerrin will be the kart FedEx champion and the owner of the Vanderbilt Cup for the 2nd year in a row. Cristiano D'Amata, who won the first race of the season. First ride for Newman Haas Racing. Now with less than a lap to go and an 8-second lead.
He left out one accolade, though, that I think is very important for a lot of drivers. For Gilles Deferrin clinching this championship, it's the $1 million that goes with it, which means we go into that Fontana finale where the winner will also win $1 million.
For Cristiano D'Amata, it will be the 3rd win of his career. The 2nd this year, and will move him to 5th in the point standings. And as Parker suggested, 11th race, 11 different winners in Surfers Paradise. There were reported that Paul Tracy's car on this final lap is on fire. He was 4th and wanted a podium. We'll try and follow that for you. There it is. is checkered flag just ahead, and Cristiano D'Amata wins at Surfers Paradise.
8-second interval between D'Amata and Andretti. D'Amata never letting up during that last stint. What a tremendous drive, turning consistent laps very, very fast as Paul Tracy goes up in flames.
And here is Roger Penske looking for his new champion. That's the Tracy car on fire up at the head of the pits. And watching for DeFerrin now.
DeFerrin only the 4th driver in kart history to win back-to-back championships.
So Jill DeFerrin takes the championship. D'Amata takes the win, followed by Andretti and Tagliani. DeFerrin came home in 4th. Paul Tracy, who had wanted a podium finish, is going to try and cross that line. Come on, come on, come on.
Got it.
That's all you need.
14th place for Paul Tracy the hard way.
And just what Jens Wenzel, the starter, wanted was a car on fire pulling to a stop right under the starter stand. Those are the unofficial results. Cristiano D'Amata, who started 3rd, wins this race. And Jill DeFerrin, he takes the championship. So when we come back, we'll be talking with some of the key figures in the run.
Some places have silly ideas to bring you in. But once you get to the taste, where's the fresh? Want something made fresh? Try one of the new Subway Selects.
We've got 4 new Subway Selects, like the delicious horseradish steak and cheese. Subway, eat fresh!
Split fire spark plugs, because performance is everything. Now just $249 after rebate.
Today at IBM.com, we're talking about the NetVista A21. It's a fully loaded, expandable, genuine IBM business computer.
Leon, what is with the outfit?
You want to see something really cool? Watch these phones. Folks, call the number on your screen now, and the A21 can be yours for not $12.99, not $9.99, but for the everyone has to be sold low price of just $6.99. Watch this phone. This bad daddy comes with an Intel Celeron processor, 1 gigahertz, 128 megs of RAM, 20 gig hard drive, and preloaded top business software, all for just $6.99. 3, 2, 1, bingo. And if you call now, you'll not only get the A21 with the Intel Celeron processor, but you can get a 15-inch color monitor free. You might want to pick that up. All right, now we are smoking. Call now. Operators are standing by, and these things are going fast.
You might want to go to the website.
Can I make the numbers flash on screen now?
ESPN Speed World coverage of the Grand Prix of Australia was brought to you by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series. Born in France, he grew up in Brazil, now lives in Florida. Jill DeFerrin is the 2001 champion. DeFerrin's right there, doing everything he can. DeFerrin goes high. And DeFerrin takes him. And DeFerrin looking for back-to-back checkered flag.
Great job, Jill. Great job. 2 in a row, man. You got a streak going.
And in his firm, steady way, Jill DeFerrin has scored back-to-back championships, the 9th championship for Roger Penske.
Jill DeFerrin, 2 from 2. How does it feel?
It feels amazing, Mark. I tell you, I'm so happy. It's a mixture of exhaustion, happiness, and everything else you can imagine. I mean, this team made all my dreams come true, and I'll give an arm and a leg for them. I'm a very happy man these days.
We can tell. We'll let you catch your breath, mate. Great effort this afternoon.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Jill DeFerrin. There are the point standings. With 1 race to go in the season, he wraps it up. And to interview Roger Penske, Barry Sheen, the great Grand Prix bike racer.
2 straight championships makes a great year for us, and certainly the 1-2 at Indy. I guess we can't ask for anything more.
Well, exactly. That's the number 11, isn't it?
That's right, and 11 wins at Indy, so I guess that we got to go on to something else next year.
I got to tell you, I asked him before. I said, that's number 9, isn't it, Roger? I said, I don't know.
Somebody else told us 11. I don't know.
So, Roger, will you be back next year?
Well, we sure hope to. You know, we have a very, very big interest here in Australia with our business, and you know, we've got to decide, you know, based on, you know, what our sponsors want for the future, but we'll make that decision come November.
Cryptic comments by Roger Penske. Cristiano D'Amata is the winner in Australia. The Mazda Winner's Circle interview. Here again is Barron.
Cristiano, fantastic drive.
It was a good race. Everything seemed to be going our way today. Some of the luck we haven't had. A couple of the races before seemed to turn our way today. Team did a great job. I'd just like to thank the Carl Haas, the whole Newman Haas team, Texaco heavily, all my sponsors. Just great.
You look. It was hard work.
Well, it was hot, but I'm not tired right now. I'm just a little dehydrated, I think. But I didn't have much pressure on the race after I got the lead, so it was okay.
You were very fast, Cristiano, and you did a great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Carl.
Congratulations to Cristiano D'Amata. 1 week from today at California Speedway, the 500, presented by Toyota. We'll have the coverage for you. Paul Page for Parker Johnstone and Jan Beekes. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.